What's up, guys? It's Dwayne from mountainbuck.com, where we go from backyard to backwoods. And guys, today I'm checking out some of the best-selling and highest-rated cheap trail cameras on Amazon. I'll be testing out the trigger speed, detection range, image quality, video quality, nighttime shots, and a bunch of other great stuff. So hook me up and hit subscribe, and let's get started. So let me run you down the list of trail cameras I have up here. First off, we have the Vikeri A1, which has been the best-selling trail camera on Amazon for like the past couple years. It also has a ton of great reviews. Next up is the Vikeri 4K, and this is a relatively new camera, but it already has the Amazon Choice badge, and it has some solid reviews as well. And that 4K video just might allow this camera to overtake the A1 as Amazon's bestseller. Next up in the middle here, we have the Ceyomur CY95, and this solar powered camera is on my list here because it has some amazing battery life and it shoots 4K video. Over here we have the GardePro A3, which also has a ton of great reviews. It's highly rated and it's had that Amazon Choice badge in the past. Finally, we have the iZEEKER iG400. This is part of the new wave of 4K trail cameras we're seeing out there. And it also has the Amazon's Choice badge, and I want to see how it's stacked up against these other cameras. First up, we're going to take a look at the daytime image quality. The Vikeri A1 has a reported 20 megapixel camera, and here's an example of the daytime image quality you're going to get from this camera. Next up is the Vikeri 4K. This camera has 32 megapixels, and here's an example of the daytime image you will get from this camera. Next up is the Ceyomur CY95, which has a 40 megapixel camera. Strange thing here is it didn't take pictures of the daytime photos along with the other cameras, so I had to use some old footage. But here's an example of the image quality you get with this one. The GardePro A3 has 32 megapixels, and here's an example of the daytime image quality you're going to get with this one. Finally, the iZEEKER iG400 has a reported 48 megapixel camera, which is highest on our list. Here's an example of the daytime image quality from this camera. And what I did to determine the best quality image in this category was I blew up all the photos of deer right about the same size, same range, and spliced them all together, making sure the deer are as close as possible to the same size. In my opinion, the Ceyomur and the iZEEKER have the best daytime image quality, but since the Ceyomur here didn't take pictures during the test period, at least during the daytime, I have to go with the iZEEKER in this category for best daytime photos. Let's take a look at video quality. For daytime video quality, the Vikeri A1 shoots 1520p video. We have good video quality here. Everything is coming in crisp and clean. I'd have no complaints about this video quality if I bought this camera. Next up is the Vikeri 4K with that 4K video. Nice video quality here. The does all look sharp. You can see the detail on the feeder back there. One thing I noticed is that the camera seems sharpest and most focused on that mid-range grass there right before the deer. Next up is the Ceyomur CY95. This also shoots 4K at 30 frames per second. The Ceyomur did not capture daytime photos or videos during the test period, so I used some older footage here, and I really like how that image quality looks. Very sharp and very crisp. Next, we have the GardePro A3 shooting 1080p video. Good quality image here with that video. Has a zoomed in type of look. The does all look clear and the feeder there is looking sharp. The feeder looks to be the most clear object on the screen. Finally, we have the iZEEKER iG400 shooting 4K at 30 frames per second. Nice quality image here. You can see the deer in some great detail. The feeder is sharp and you can see the grass and trees there in the background just fine. Choosing a winner in this category was really tough. All the cameras up here shoot really nice video, good quality video. I did prefer the CY95 and the iZEEKER iG400, and I went and checked out other footage I had from these cameras to try to see which one was better, and I just can't pick. I really like the iG400 and the CY95 for video. Next up, we're gonna check some audio, and what I did here was I popped my earbuds in and turned the volume all the way up on each video and listened to see what I thought was best. The Vikeri A1 here has some good audio. You can hear those turkeys running in and pecking at the ground. For the Vikeri 4K, this shot we have turkeys that are closer to the camera and walking around and all that dry stuff, and it's actually harder to hear them, not quite as good as the previous Vikeri audio quality. The Ceyomur CY95 did not pick up the shot of the turkeys that I'm using in this segment, so I used some footage from the detection range test I have coming up. You can hear me walking just fine, but there's also a hum and a slight high-pitched sound. The GardePro A3 has some good audio. You could hear those turkeys running in and pecking at the ground. It does have a slight digital type of sound. The iZEEKER iG400 has really good audio. It's picking up the turkeys walking and pecking, but I also heard a quiet turkey vocalization in there right at the beginning. For the audio test, I'd have to give the win to the iZEEKER iG400. I thought it sounded the best. Next up is the nighttime photo quality. First up is the Vikeri A1. And here you have an image of two does. You can see them pretty well, and the area there is lit up pretty well with the infrared. Next is the Vikeri 4K. Here you have a similar image of the same two does, and you can see they aren't lit as well, and the infrared seems to be focusing at much closer range. Next we have the Ceyomur CY95, and here you have a similar image of the does, and you can see the area is lit well, and you can see the deer in the front there clearly. It's actually a pretty crisp image for a night shot. The GardePro A3 did not capture those does at night, so I had to use footage of myself when I was out there testing the cameras at night. You can see the area's lit up pretty well, but that photo is pretty blurry and undefined. Finally is the iZEEKER iG400. Here's an image of the does, and the area is lit pretty well, and the subjects are pretty well defined. Again, to determine a winner here, I did the same thing as the daytime shots to compare the nighttime image quality. I spliced 5 images together here, about the same distance and same size. Again, I'm going to have to go with the Ceyomur CY95 and the iZEEKER iG400 for having the best quality nighttime shots. I'll give the slight edge to the Ceyomur CY95 on this one. Next up is the nighttime video quality, and there's one thing I wanted to make you aware of. All of these cameras here are set and programmed to record 30 seconds of video, 30 seconds in the day and 30 seconds at night, and for whatever reason, some of these cameras only record at night for a few seconds. The Vikeri A1 here does a pretty good job at night. You can see how the subject needs to be within the infrared pattern there, or it becomes a lot less visible, like that doe to the left. This camera only gave me nighttime recordings of about 7 or 8 seconds or so. Next we have the Vikeri 4K, and the videos here are just a bit dark for nighttime videos. If the deer is closer to the camera, you can see it no problem, but if it's further away, it's going to be darker. You can see how dark I am there, and I'm just a few steps back. This camera gave me around 11-second videos at night. The Ceyomur CY95 gave me the full 30-second nighttime shots I programmed it for. The video there also looks bright, and I can see the deer clearly with a crisp image until they walk to the very edge of the screen right there. The GardePro A3 also gave me 30-second nighttime videos, but it did not capture those deer, and I had to use footage of myself again to show the quality. It is, however, lit really well, and the image quality is looking good. The iZEEKER iG400 gave me the shortest video recordings of the whole bunch. We are talking short clips lasting only 3 seconds. The video quality is pretty good, however. The winner here is an easy choice for nighttime video quality. It is the Ceyomur CY95. It's the only camera up here that shot for the full 30 seconds and shot the does I was going after for nighttime. The images also look really great. The video looks nice and crisp. Next up, I want to check out the infrared and what those lights look like when they're shooting the subjects at night. And the way I did this is I just went out there at night and recorded what I saw with my camera here to see what kind of light they put out. One thing to keep in mind here is that when I recorded it, it's a little bit brighter going through the recording than it is when you're in person. First up is the Vikeri A1, and this has a very subtle U-shaped infrared light. Next, we have the Vikeri 4K. Again, we have a very subtle bar-style infrared light. The Ceyomur CY95 has the brightest infrared with those 2 lights, but it does put out some really good quality images and videos at night. The GardePro A3 also has a very subtle bar-style infrared light. The iZEEKER iG400 has a bit of a brighter split-style system. The winner here for me is going to be the Vikeri A1. It has the most subtle lights while providing the best pictures and videos with the least amount of light. All right, so first up is my trigger speed analysis. And how I have this set up is I have each of these cameras lined up in a row, and they're all aiming at that first cone back there, which is about 10 yards away. So I'm just going to walk around here, get set up, run right by, and see how long it takes each of those cameras to pick me up. Now, I'm about the same body mass as a good-sized bucks, so those cameras should have no trouble whatsoever picking me up. Let's see how they do. The Vikeri A1 lists a 0.2 second trigger speed. However, it did not capture me when I ran my test. I've done previous trigger speed tests with this camera, and it did detect me when I was a bit closer. The Vikeri 4K is listed at a 0.1 second trigger speed. This also did not capture me in this test. Another camera I tested also caught me about just after mid-frame, which is a 0.5 second trigger speed. And again, I was a bit closer than I was during this test. The Ceyomur CY95 is also listed at a 0.1 second trigger. This one here caught me past mid-frame, which is probably just over a 0.5 second trigger. The GardePro A3 is listed at a 0.1 second trigger speed, and it caught me well before mid-frame here, as you can see in this shot here, and that is super fast. The iZEEKER iG400 is listed at 0.1 second, and it caught me a bit past mid-frame, and clearly our winner for trigger speed is the GardePro A3. It's the only camera up here that caught me before mid-frame, and the difference was significant. Next up is detection range, and what I have going on here for this test is I have cones set up out there at 10 yards, 20 yards, 25 yards, and 30 yards. And what I'm going to do is just walk by each of those distances at a steady pace just to test the limits of range for these cameras and see how far out they can capture me. Similar to the trigger speed test, the Vikeri A1 did not catch me at all for this detection range, not even at 10 yards. It was aimed up properly, and I'm not really sure what happened there, but it just did not detect me. Let's see how the Vikeri 4K did. The Vikeri 4K only picked me up walking at the 10-yard marker. You can see this in this picture, and then again once the video kicks in and catches me just before I leave the frame. The Ceyomur CY95 caught me at the 10-yard marker, and it was really early in the frame, and that just shows you how significant that trigger speed test is. It caught me again coming back at the 20-yard mark, and that is as far as it detected me. The GardePro A3 caught me at the 10-yard marker, and it was really early in the frame. Remember, this camera has the best trigger speed of the bunch. It also caught me at the 20-yard marker and at the 25-yard marker. The iZEEKER iG400 caught me at the 10-yard marker and then coming back for the 20-yard marker, and that was it. Let's talk about battery life for a second. So I didn't do like a full 30-day test period where I had all these cameras out shooting the same stuff and then seeing which one of them drained the least amount of battery. And I don't really have to do that because I know this Ceyomur CY95 crushes it in that area. This solar panel on the top here powers this cameras for months. I've had this out during all of hunting season with no batteries, with this little solar panel powering it at 100% the entire time. So I know it's gonna last. And you might be wondering, why is this camera on the cheap camera, video here? And that's because you don't have to buy batteries for it, which are pretty pricey nowadays. So all in all, guys, a lot of these trail cameras have quirks. Sometimes you might get a dud, you might have to send it back, but you can find some really good value on these cheap trail cameras on Amazon. As always, the links to the guys we talked about are in the description below. Guys, get yourself some killer mountain buck gear. Do me a favor, hook me up and hit subscribe. Thank you guys so much for hanging out, and we'll see you on the next one.